Hi guys, welcome to Comfort Life channel. I am happy to see you here today. In this video, we're talking about sugar, actually trying to answer the question how much sugar is too much. Well, sugar is delicious, no doubt, and because life is unfair, too much sugar is obviously bad for your health. Well, I think that sugar on one hand is a very simple nutrient, but not so on the other hand. Well, to begin with, the sugar is classed in two ways. The first type is free sugars, the sugar that is added to food and drinks, but also naturally found in syrups, honey, fruit juices, and fruit concentrates. The second type is naturally occurring sugars. This is the sugar that we can find in fruit and milk. There are 8 simple steps which could probably tell you that you are dependent on sugar or that you eat too much of it. Well, number 1 is that you are constantly craving something sweet at the end of the day. Especially. Number 2 is that you're normally moodier than you used to be before, and you really see that after you eat something sweet you feel kind of better, but obviously not for a long time. Number 3 is that you do not stop breaking out and your skin doesn't really look that good. Number 4 is that you feel sluggish throughout the day. Number 5 is that you start getting more cavities. Number 6 is that you start gaining some weight. Number 7 is that your brain is foggy, especially after a meal. And number 8 is that you feel that nothing tastes as sweet as it used to. So now, how much sugar should you eat per day? Well, according to the American Heart Association, they recommend to eat the amount of added sugars for men, it is 9 teaspoons, and for women it's 6. 9 teaspoons equals 37.5 grams, and 6 teaspoons equals 25 grams. According to the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, the one that's in UK, I think, they recommend the following amounts of free sugars. Children aged 4 to 6 should have no more than 19 grams, which is 5 teaspoons per day of free sugars. Children aged 7 to 10 should have no more than 24 grams, which equals 6 teaspoons of free sugars per day. Children aged 11 years and upwards, as well as the adults, should have no more than 30 grams of sugar per day. And 30 grams equals 7 teaspoons of sugar. Well, just to give you an example here, a 300 milligrams of fizzy drink contains 35 grams of sugar, just one drink. Of course, it is very important to understand that sugar is added to all kinds of foods and drinks. And the funny fact is that we always think that sugar is in the cookie, in the cake, in the dessert basically. But you'd be surprised or not to find out that sugar is added sometimes to different, not even sometimes, I'd say most of the time, to such things as beans and even bread. And they do it because, first of all, it's gonna taste better, and it will also preserve the flavor. So that's why we come to a great conclusion here, is that when we buy some food, we always need to check on the label. Well, what we really need to cut down on is the free sugar or added sugar. The tricky thing is that sometimes on the label it doesn't really it's not really shown as sugar. So you need to look for the words as fructose, dextrose, honey, molasses, corn syrup, and other things. I will put in the description down below all the possible names that you can find on the label. When you're reading a food label, you need to know that they are always sort of listed in the descending order. So the higher the sugar appears on the list, the more sugar the product will contain. For extra clarity, of course, you could also look at this table on the back of every product, which will show the amount of sugar per meal, per serving, per 100 grams. So this is something you also need to check on. But make sure you know that this figure normally doesn't usually distinguish between the naturally occurring sugars and the free sugars, the added sugar. So that's why it's also wise to also read the ingredient list. Well, it's actually always wise to read the ingredient list because there may be other things that you might not want to have in your meal. So now let's have a brief talk about sugar and your health. You can also watch my video where I'm sharing with you the recommendations of how you could reduce your sugar intake without suffering too much, really. But if you consume too much sugar on a daily basis, it will definitely have very, very bad effects on your health. It might even be dangerous. Well, I'm also very concerned here about the kids because the typical diet that they eat mostly contains just of sugar. And believe it or not, that's not a good thing. And the obesity and the heart disease levels, they raise tremendously. So that's why it's something we need to watch out for. If you consume sugar in moderation, that's not really a problem, especially if you consume naturally occurring sugars, because your brain actually lives on sugar. It doesn't depend on protein intake or on carbohydrates. It actually needs sugar to function. But on the other hand, if you consume too much sugar in different forms, and of course, especially if you know, do heavy in the desserts and sweet stuff, it provides you with the empty calories, which do not carry any nutrients. And as a result, we eat more without feeling full or satisfied. I'm pretty sure you've noticed that after you have a huge piece of cake, you might really think it could, you know, cover up for the dinner, right, for a proper meal. But then, within really not a long period of time, you feel hungry again. And the same thing goes with cereal. If you just say eat only the oatmeal without any protein source in it, it will not really keep you full for a long period of time. It's also wise to make sure that, let's say, if you eat something for breakfast and you want to feel fuller longer, instead of just having carbohydrates, which, as you know, they convert into sugars, you really need to have something containing protein. As you know, breakfast is the most important part of your meals throughout the day, so you need to start your day right. And if you have your breakfast full of sugar, you will feel really sluggish. You won't really have that much energy throughout the day, and you will feel hungry faster. So compared to the other type of breakfast, if you also add some type of protein, you will really feel completely different. So just maybe you need to see what you eat for breakfast and make that change and see how better you will start feeling. If you eat too much sugar, the high amount of glucose in your blood is actually highly toxic. So, and if you eat too much sugar, it actually brings on too many different diseases, which you might not even link with sugar in your head. Eating too much sugar causes a metabolic dysfunction, which brings the classic metabolic syndrome. And this in turn brings the bucket of, you know, high blood pressure, of obesity, you gaining weight. You have elevated blood sugar, you have high uric acid levels, you have low HDL, which is a good cholesterol, and high LDL, which is a bad cholesterol level in your blood, and many other things. Not to mention here that increased amount of sugar really brings lots of stress on you and actually might trigger depression in some people, because you actually all the time you crave sweet things. You basically depend on them. You know, sugar is a very powerful drug. Not to mention here that frequent sugar consumption and high amounts of sugar, they lead to tooth decay and actually type 2 diabetes. So now once you know all this, you're sugar educated, you know exactly how much sugar you need to incorporate into your diet and really what you need to watch out for. Well, now I want just to mention here that the key thing is not to become obsessed and check every single gram of sugar in any single product that you eat, like a banana or an apple and so on and so on. I think the key thing here is the balance. It's just to make sure that you do eat a balanced meal, and you shouldn't feel guilty when once in a while you're indulging in the dessert party. Just make sure you know when to stop, as the majority of our diet should be made up with a balanced and nutritious everyday foods. As we all know, habits die hard, and if you are really depending on the sugary, you know, drinks or, you know, bakery things, like everything that's baked, it's actually even worse, it has too much yeast and flour, most often just white flour, and of course sugar. You're actually addicted to it. You don't really even feel well once you completed your great dinner and you didn't have anything sweet in the end. You don't feel good. And then you don't really feel good if you didn't have that half a can of ice cream at the end of the day, because you feel so bad and it's sort of a reward for you. And you know, there may be tons of different reasons, but you need to know that if you want to really be healthier, you need to set your mind straight and probably start cutting your sugar little by little, and then in the end you will need about 2 weeks without it, and then your body will start feeling a lot better and you will see that you do not depend on it a lot. So as they say, 2 weeks is actually the period that is needed for your body to change any type of habit. It actually works for many other different things. So guys, I hope you like this video, and so instead of worrying too much, just make sure you pay attention to the added and hidden sugars, and pay attention to your body, because it's actually constantly talking to you and tells you what food it likes or not. The reactions are sometimes instant and sometimes they're a bit delayed. You may have it the next day, but what I tell you for sure, if you wait for like 2 weeks without a sugar food and then you start incorporating maybe, you know, once in a while, and your body will tell you that it doesn't like it. You might have a breakout or migraine or anything else. You will see it. So just make sure you don't miss that. As your body is your best friend, and it actually helps you all the time. The healthier you become, the better you will understand your body. So I think it's a great idea to start learning how to do that. So if you like this video, please put the thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I wish you to stay very happy and very healthy, and I'll see you in my next video.